M. Night Shyamalan is back with a new film. And I know for me, any film of his is a little bit of hesitation coming from me. Nonetheless, I was excited to check this one out, and I'm ready to jump into my review. So let's jump into the review of the new film, A Knock at the Cabin. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new film, A Knock at the Cabin, which is coming to theaters February 3rd. So, folks, it's M. Night Shyamalan. You know there's always a potential twist at the end of the film. So, I will say, before we really get into this, there may be mild spoilers here, but I will quickly let you know that this may be one of the first films I've seen of M. Night Shyamalan in a very long time, if any, that was just a straight A to B film. There is no twist in this film, and it's probably because he also co-wrote this film. So you got the likes of Steve Desmond and Michael Sherman that helped him co-write this film, but also too, this doesn't come from the brains of M. Night Shyamalan because it is adapted from a novel. So for all those that may be, interested and truly trying to figure out what's this film truly about, because while you see a trailer, you read the synopsis, like, okay, cool, but there's going to be a twist. I think this may be one of his first, if not in a very long time, a film that went from A to B. None of that other stuff in there. But nonetheless, this film, I will say, was decent. I did not hate it. I did not love it. There was things I wish there was more of, but overall, I think with me and my expectations for his film, I set the bar so low that like all it has to do is just not be those other films, and I'm like, okay, fine, he did something. But honestly, this was a little surprising because he didn't take none of his traditional routes, none of the crazy twist at the end, none of the talking all around in circles. The film just went from A to B, and hey, I was like, wow. I mean, I even sat through the credits to see was there going to be a stinger, and there wasn't. There was the title screen at the end, and you heard knocking sound, and that was it. But there was no additional scenes. So, okay. So we got a film, folks. But, the next thing is obviously the cast here. You look up and down this cast, and you're just like, oh, yeah. You got Big Dave Bautista, Ben Aldridge, and Jonathan Groff, who just, right there alone, I can name everybody else. Abby Quinn, Christian Q, who plays this little girl Wynn, who I think is truly one of the stars of this film. She is fantastic. I love this character Wynn. But yeah, the cast was definitely dope, and Rupert Grint, like up and down, fantastic cast. And I also will say that the film felt very pandemic-ish. You used maybe 1 to 2 set locations. You had a small cast. You had other things that were just CGI involved, and which is fine. I like pandemic films. I think it was a very interesting time for filmmakers to really put together films with limited resources that were fantastic, But it felt like a pandemic film. But nonetheless, I thought, again, the production was fine. The CGI wasn't all that good, but I thought the production, the set location, the cinematography was all fine. But talking about the cinematography, which I thought was probably the standout aspect of this film, the cinematography really made a lot of these moments feel much more heightened, from the use of kind of like zooming in to kind of capture emotions, using these diagonal shots, these panning shots, using the bokeh effect so that people are kind of blurred in the background and kind of zooming in to focus and whatnot. They used a lot of these different techniques to really like heighten a lot of these scenes, because there's moments where things feel a little intense, things are definitely a little eerie, there's all sorts of different emotions kind of going on. So yeah, but anyway, because I totally forgot to talk about the plot here, you have a couple in Eric and Andrew, played by Jonathan Groff and Ben Aldridge, and their daughter, Wynn, who's played by Christian Q, as I mentioned. They're vacationing in the cabin in PA, And then you got these 4 random strangers who all have weapons who come in to say, hey, so you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to sacrifice one another to stop this apocalypse. And if you don't, then the world will end. And now it sounds crazy, and that's a lot of what their reservation is. So with this film, there is a lot of like back and forth kind of going on here, because yeah, these 4 strangers, and obviously led by Bautista as Leonard. He comes with Sabrina, he comes with Redman, he comes with Adrian, and like they're like, hey, we've all been seeing these visions, and the visions have brought us together, and it brought us to this cabin, and now it's brought us to you two to make the decision in order to stop the end of the world. And with that, this important mission that they have, it does come off all sorts of different ways, but it does make Andrew and Eric look at one another to say, hey, listen, is this a home invasion or is this something a lot more? But at the end of the day, it's about survival. However you look at it, it's about survival. And with that too, it's like sacrifice or save the world. And do the two of them who love each other and their daughter, if the world ends, then it's just them and the 3 of them get to roam the earth together. Or if not, then one of them dies by killing the other, and all of humanity is saved. And like, again, I know it sounds bizarre, but there's a lot of different factors to kind of pull into this, because the fact that they are a queer couple, there's moments where they talk about being targeted because of their sexuality their entire life. So this feels like a target attack. This is triggering to them, and obviously this comes off as like some apocalyptic cult or some religious cult of folks that's just coming together. They met off of a message board. Now you're here talking about we need to kill one another. So it's hard for them to believe anything is divine here, because like this is something that they have been used to. 1, because of their occupation, 2, because of their sexuality, and 3, because everybody just have seen these crazy instances in the world. Or is it truly what it is that they say? And they have to weigh the pros and cons, as Leonard tries to persuade them by showing them evidence, but by them showing them evidence, time is ticking, other factors are involved, and at the end of the day, you have to make a decision before it's all too late. So let me talk about some of the things I didn't like about this film. First of all, they had implied gore and brutality. I wish they would have showed it. I thought the film would have been a lot more better, and obviously because this saves the budget. But like, I thought from the moments where things do get bloody, why not show it? Because I think that really would have just really captured the audience to understand the severity of everything. And like, granted, when you start to see, because if the longer they take to make this decision to sacrifice, then these things are starting to happen around the world, as they said that humanity will be judged, and then this plague is released amongst the world. So you got these different things, these very anomalies happening across the world, and they're able to look at it on TV. And when you're seeing these things, like, yeah, these things are intense, but at the end of the day, I think it right there in the cabin, they was able to show some of the brutality, some of the gore that potentially could have been there. I think it would have worked for the better for this film, but yeah, and the two of them, and their love for one another, do they stick together, or would this actually make them have change of hearts? Because at the same time too, while we're in the present day, we do get flashbacks of the couple, as when they how their relationship sort of started, some other past incidents that they've had together when they adopted Wynn. So you're looking at these good moments with one another, so you understand and really believe their love for one another. But then when it comes to survival, would this actually make them turn on each other, because they may have different views about this, and how would that look, how would that play out and whatnot? So for the emotional toll on this, yeah, you definitely feel for Andrew and Eric, because it is a moment of survival. They try to do whatever they can to escape. Wynn is just the cutest, and her contributions to things just makes it like so much more dire, but yet, she holds it down. But at the end of the day, you do got these four strangers in this house preaching something that just doesn't seem believable, or is it? And so, with that, I think that, that's where the viewers are going to be looking for the twist, is saying, okay, is it true? Is it not true? And do we believe them? Do we not believe them? And before you know it, the film is over. The film is about an hour and a half, and then there's no end of the film twist. It's just what it is. So kind of makes you kind of sit back and say, huh, okay. So that kind of happened, There's moments in this film, I will say, that kind of made me feel like The Happening. That other film that he did that's terrible. There's like zoom in shots of the woods, and then things are kind of blowing, and I'm just kind of like, huh, interesting. And there's also a moment where I thought I saw something, but it's interesting because the thing that I thought I saw, that the character Eric acknowledges it. So like it adds to sort of the mystique of like, are these four people true to their calling, or is this something else? So like you do got to keep your eyes peeled on certain scenes, because there are some things that do kind of happen. And again, is this a home invasion, or is this something much more divine? Who are these four people? What are their purpose? Is there something biblical to their purpose? And again, this decision that they make is either going to be about them sacrifice one another, or humanity will be judged and the plague will be unleashed, and considering the consequences of them not making the decision to sacrifice one another. So I will say that the film was I guess it's just a surprise that the film was okay. It was pretty decent. I'm thoroughly surprised that this was a film that just didn't come out and saying, what the heck did I just watch? No, this was just more like, okay, that was decent. It went from A to B. It did some things. Like I said, the CGI wasn't all that great. The plot itself was interesting. The acting was good. Dave is fantastic. As I mentioned, Jonathan is fantastic. Ben, the entire cast, Nikki, Abby, everybody uses their moments to really shine. And Christian, who plays Wynn, I think she is a star, sitting in the cast of stars, and really held it down herself. So, this is a film, I think, if it intrigued you by the trailer that you want to go check out, then do so. You're not going to be mad. And I did hear people come out of the theater say like they didn't like it, but I did also hear other folks saying like, you know what, surprisingly, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Because with M. Night, he clearly can take things into a direction that just does not make sense. With this one, it went from A to B. It probably has a lot to do that this was adapted from a novel, or that he had co-writers, or maybe he just is turning the page in his filmmaking. He just wanted to just tell stories without all this other crazy stuff that he adds in there. Then he has to come out and do press and explain it to everybody, because that's sort of been his tank as well too. So, I joke about this all the time. He does 3 bad films and then he puts out a good one. And so this was the good one. And now I'm intrigued what the next film is going to be here. But nonetheless, folks, this is Knock at the Cabin. Jump in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, your excitement, whatever you predicting this film may be about. Because while I said there is no twist, there is a line in this film that does explain the characters and the reasoning behind the characters. And I'm like, okay, I can get that. The justification here of the 4 home invaders. Like, I was like, okay, I know that. And as I said, just to give a hint, is this just a home invasion, or is this something much more divine here? These 4 people, what is their purpose? What are they serving? And so, they'll definitely explain that to you. Like I said, there's no twist. They lay it all out from A to B. But yep, jump in the comments, folks. Let me know your thoughts about this when you do check it out. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.